This magnificent landscape, created by volcanic activity and glacier action, is renowned for its beauty, but it also has a haunting history. Thank you for once again joining M&M Life on Purpose as we continue our UK adventures and are now on the Scotland road trip part of our journey. We set out from Crianlarich this morning along the A82, headed northwest toward the Glenfinnan Viaduct, Fort William, and eventually to the Isle of Skye. As we watch the sun rise over the mountains and the mist lift from the valley, it's hard to believe that this place is also known as the Glen of Weeping. The Jacobite cause began in the late 17th century after Stuart King James VII of Scotland was overthrown by William of Orange in what came to be known as the Glorious Revolution of 1688. King James fled to France, but his supporters in Scotland, known as the Jacobites, rose up and tried to restore a Catholic king to the throne. Clan MacDonald once called Glen Coe home. They didn't have very good relations with their neighbors who were members of Clan Campbell due to cattle rustling and other activities. They also struggled in regards to their political views, with the MacDonalds supporting the deposed King James. The first Jacobite risings mostly resulted in defeat for the Highlanders, but despite this, William III wanted to pacify any clans previously sworn to James and his claims to the throne, including the Glen Coe MacDonalds. William demanded that all the clans sign an oath of allegiance to him. Any clan signing the oath before the 1st of January 1692 would be pardoned, while anyone who refused would be punished as traitors. The MacDonalds found themselves in a difficult situation. Not only did they have prior oaths to come to terms with, but they only had 3 days to respond. The clan chief set off to give his oath. When he arrived at Fort William, there was no one there to be able to take his oaths, and he had to continue traveling to Inverary. Despite arriving late, he was eventually allowed to take the oaths, and he believed his clan was safe, but the fate of the MacDonalds had already been sealed. It could be argued that the government powers disliked the Highlanders and the MacDonalds in particular, so that they wanted to make an example of them. 2 companies totaling around 120 men from the Earl of Argyll's regiment and led by a captain of Clan Campbell arrived in Glen Coe in late January. They were provided with food and lodging by the MacDonald clan and lived together in relative harmony for 2 weeks. On the evening of the 12th of February, 1692, officers of this regiment received word to destroy the MacDonald clan. Early the morning of February the 13th, the signal was given to kill all of those under the age of 70. Even though it is considered likely that some of the soldiers would have alerted the MacDonald families, giving them some chance to escape, it is recorded that 38 men, women, and children were killed during the attack, with many more dying from exposure trying to evade the soldiers. Although word of the Glen Coe massacre did damage William III's reputation, he, along with many of the other instigators, avoided any real repercussions. The history of rivalry between the MacDonald and Campbell clans allowed for much of the blame to be laid at the feet of Clan Campbell, when in fact only a dozen or so Campbells were actually involved. Today, people visit Glen Coe to learn of its history as well as to engage in recreational pursuits. Some scenic areas, such as the Meeting of the Three Waters, are even used as film locations. The Meeting of the Three Waters was even used as the site of the Bridge of Death and the Gorge of Eternal Peril in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Scenes from films such as Braveheart, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and the opening scenes from the Outlander series were also filmed among Glen Coe's mountains. Rock climbing, hiking, skiing, and wildlife watching are also popular activities for visitors. Others come to Bag a Munro. A Munro is a mountain in Scotland over 3,000 feet. The term bag means to summit one of these mountains. While we are not trying to bag any Munros, at least not for this visit, we are going to pause to admire the Three Sisters before making our way up to Fort William, the Glenfinnan Viaduct, Eilean Castle, and on to the Isle of Skye. One of the things that I wanted to see on this trip was Glen Finnan and what is fondly called the Harry Potter train. And our timing was going to work out that we thought we were just going to miss the train actually going across. But I happened to notice in front of us as we were driving past or north of Fort William that there was a train on the tracks just ahead of us to the left. And as we caught up to it, I was like, that's the Jacobite train. That's the train that we're looking for. And so we passed it. And we're thinking we might actually get the chance to pull this off. We get to the parking lot, and both the visitor center and the parking lot beside it are completely full. There wasn't traffic behind us at that moment, so Michael pulls over onto a road to the left. Ian and I both hop out, and he orients himself to where he's going, and he just takes off. And I'm, coming along behind him at a little bit more of a sedate pace, but we actually managed to get to the viewpoints to get to see the train. It was kind of really exciting because I wanted to go and get pictures of the like bridges, and I didn't really think we'd get to see the train cross it. And he was up a lot closer and was able to get some really good video, and I got a couple of shots that I'm really happy with my long-range lens. Something that made it better than just getting to see the Harry Potter train cross the bridge was just the whole story of how it all worked out. Michael had to go on up the road a little bit, and he'd come back to get us, and in the meantime we went back to the visitor center and did a little shopping and went across to see the monument over on the lock, and it was such a fun experience. 8 months before the Battle of Culloden, 1,200 Highlanders gathered in Glen Finnan to pledge their allegiance to Prince Charles Edward Stuart. This statue was placed to commemorate the clansmen who supported the Stuart cause in the uprising of 1745. The statue of the Highlander on top of the tower is dressed in Highland dress and tartan. The Highland dress and tartan was later outlawed on account of its affiliation with the 1745 uprising. One last note for this part of our trip. Sometimes I get, overexcited just a little. And just in case you miss it, I hit the window with my camera twice before I figure out what's going on in this next reel. Please stay with us as we continue to Eileen Donan Castle and the Isle of Skye. Oh, and enjoy the gag reel. Snap. See it.
Slam the camera into the window? Not once, twice. I guess once wasn't enough, was it?
I couldn't figure out why the camera wouldn't go out the window.